हमारे सामने नाइक है गोम्बो लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
In the news tonight, government sees decline in poverty. SDLP members to voice their concerns. And total makeover for Nukumbolu Primary School.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Atera Lendua.
Good evening, Fiji. The national poverty rate currently stands at 29.9%, and Prime Minister Nadranga Bainimarama says this is a massive decline when compared to the last 20 years. Speaking on Radio Fiji 1's Nanonda Prime Minister program, Bainimarama highlighted this has only been possible due to the various assistance provided by the government. Saniani Boila reports.
A number of programs have been implemented by the government to assist ordinary Fijians.
The fight against poverty is one of the main focus of the government. This includes the establishment of certain government initiatives to help those that fall under this category.
Bainimarama says relevant assistance are being provided to those affected by the COVID crisis and the recent natural disasters.
The government provided financial assistance to those who lost their jobs due to COVID-19 and has spent 120 million. The government is also lending a hand to various businesses affected by the pandemic. These are some of the ways the government works to ensure that no one is left behind.
Yes, it's pretty much helping our country and our people during this pandemic time. And so I think that the government is doing a very good job.
I think government assistance is helping Fijians.
Yeah, it's helping Fijians because in our case, some people are studying and stuff like that, but they are helping them to educate more further than us.
Some of the government programs aimed at reducing poverty includes free tuition, free medicine scheme, social welfare allowances and FNPF COVID relief assistance. Sainiani Mboila, FBC News.
The 3 bills that govern Fiji's electoral and voting system are currently under public scrutiny in the Northern Division. According to the Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights, the proposed amendments to the 3 bills are expected to make the elections much more convenient. Nadranga View has been following the consultations and files this report.
Recommendations made by the Multinational Observer Group following Fiji's 2018 general elections are now incorporated into 3 bills that are currently before the Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights.
The main thing is we need to have a simple process that people they understand what they are doing and how it's to be done, how they are supposed to vote, whom they are supposed to vote for, and to simplify the process because most of these changes that are coming in are MOG recommendation.
The proposed amendments were this week presented to various communities in Madhuwata for their views, opinions and recommendations.
What if one is registered but not vote on the day? Is there a law against that?
Senior citizens of the sick leave previously had to wait for too long, but in the last election everything was done smoothly.
The committee has noted an increased interest from the public on the voting process and little concern over party politics.
What people are more interested in is how to vote, where to vote, when to vote, and ensuring that their vote is not invalid once they have actually casted their vote.
The 3 bills before the committee will aim to amend the Electoral Act of 2014, the Electoral Registration of Voters Act of 2012, and the Political Parties Registration, Conduct, Funding and Disclosures Act of 2013. The submission gathering continues in Bua and the Kaunrawe this week before they present their report to Parliament in its next sitting. Nadranga, FBC News.
The Social Democratic Liberal Party members who have not been allowed in the past 2 management board meetings have been invited to present their concerns in the next meeting. SDLP leader William Ngaboka says these members can present their side of the story on the alleged involvement with former party leader Sitibeni Rambuka's proposed party. Sanyani Mboila reports.
SDLP will now hear out the grievances from 5 of its members who were not allowed in previous management board meetings.
Investigations are happening, but we are one family. You know, people are saying, look, we are one family. Let's just hear them. Huh? So they will be invited to the next board meeting and to hear them, to hear their The side of the story.
So
yeah.
when is the next meeting scheduled?
It'll be around.
Ngaboka says investigation against these members continue.
He gave us an interim report today. He needs another 2 weeks to complete what he's doing. Yeah?
So that we all come together as a team and continue towards 2022.
The members were alleged to have been copied in an email from Rambuka's proposed party. Part of the investigation panel is former Police Commissioner Isaiah Taoka and former magistrate Seromi Turanga. The next SDLP board meeting will be held next month. Sainiani Mboila, FBC News.
The Nukumbolu Primary School in the upper reaches of the Nasikawa River in the district of Korolau in the Kondrove will get a total makeover. The government has indicated it will build new classrooms. Nadranga reports the school was abandoned after deemed unsafe to hold classes due to cracks appearing on the classroom floor and walls.
It was a joyous occasion for the villagers of Nukumbolu when the Minister for Education, Heritage and Arts, Rosie Akbar, today became the first minister holding the portfolio to set foot on the school.
For the minister to visit us, we are very grateful. So we are thankful to the government for thinking of us, especially our children, the future of Nukumbolu.
Nukumbolu Primary School was recently damaged by tropical cyclone Anna when the unrelenting rainfall caused land cracks to appear all over the school premises.
After TC Anna left, we then noticed the damage. There were land cracks everywhere and cracks were also appearing on the classroom walls and floor.
Minister Akbar says after going through the damage assessment report, they have agreed to also construct new classrooms for the students.
I can assure you, your village will get a new school, 1x4 classroom, okay? As long as we identify a safe site to rebuild. So I will let that be a discussion between the management and the parents as to where you want your new school to be.
Nukumbolu Primary School has a roll of 60 students from the villages of Nakawanga, Nukumbolu and Nakama. Nadranga View, FBC News.
The Fijian Broadcasting Corporation's 7 p.m. television news service extends to a 1-hour bulletin from tomorrow. Fiji's premier news service will be comprised of hard-hitting stories and relevant issues from across the country. Jeshulal reports.
The 1-hour news bulletin will serve the needs of viewers and advertisers who have been asking for an extended news bulletin.
Exciting times ahead, but also challenging, but I have full faith in my team that they will deliver.
There's been constant demands, not only by viewers, but more importantly for a business, for our business, from our clients' perspective. There's a lot of business organizations that want to be part of news, that want to buy ad time during news.
It's exciting times ahead for news consumers come tomorrow night, but it also brings added responsibility to the FBC newsroom.
Been preparing for this for quite some time now, and this is a huge step for us, especially for us journalists here at FBC, moving from 45-minute bulletin to an hour bulletin. This also means a lot of responsibilities for us, especially going out, getting the best stories and getting good videos. So I just can't wait for tomorrow.
Very excited as there will be some new features in the sports segments for this 1-hour news bulletin. We had been preparing for a while, and yes, we can't wait for the 1-hour news that will begin tomorrow.
The 1-hour segment will have segments dedicated to climate change, feel-good stories, an extended Q&A segment, and more international news. Jeshulal, FBC News.
Up ahead, resort staff vaccinated. And Fiji's only female marine biologist shares success story.
मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फिजी बहुत रेडियो फिजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फिजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Minister for Trade and Commerce Fayaz Koya has encouraged the Muslim community to get vaccinated as soon as the jabs are available. Speaking at the opening of Masjid Hanifa in Nadi, Koya highlighted that there is a growing voice of Islamic scholars who have concluded that one can get vaccinated in the month of Ramadan because vaccines do not nourish the body. Ramadan is expected to begin on Wednesday, when Muslims will fast for a month.
With the arrival of the vaccines, it's actually critically important, ladies and gentlemen, that every one of us gets registered for them. And by registering, you're actually putting Fiji in a stronger position to return to some degree of normalcy and to recovery.
Koya adds they welcome the opening of Masjid Hanifa a few days ahead of Ramadan. With the vaccination program ongoing around the country, it was a bit different at the Nandi International Airport this morning when the staff of Turtle Island Resort turned up for their jabs. Dressed in kalavata, accompanied by a serenading band, the team was excited that the vaccination program indicates a return to normalcy. Felipe Naikaso caught up with them.
This was the scene at the Nandi Airport earlier this week as staff from the five-star resort in the Yasawas prepared to get their jabs.
Tourism is the main source of income into the Yasawas, and that's how we get our bread and butter from. So why not take that step?
18 staff members came in for the vaccination after the registration online from the island last week. The team has been enthusiastic about getting vaccinated, saying it's their civic duty.
I'm so lucky to be one of the 18 staff members that came to Nandi to be vaccinated, because I know I'll be safe and I'll be ready to receive guests when the borders open up again.
Besides and despite all the negativity that we've been reading and hearing about the vaccine, here we are with a group of people that have enormously suffered through this COVID, and what we loved and we were touched by was their resilience.
Other staff from the resort will be vaccinated later. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
Fiji's contribution in this year's UN Climate Change Conference of Parties, or COP26, in Glasgow, Scotland, is expected to create waves. A number of youth climate change warriors are expected to be at the forefront, voicing concerns at the conference hosted by the United Kingdom. Josai Nanunga has more.
Let's not wait anymore. The time is here, the time is now, to show remorse for the place we call Mother Earth.
Young people also have an important role to play in making changes themselves in their own lives to try and support a sustainable approach to nature.
As young people who are taking up leadership in fighting for our survival and who stand to inherit the planet from the current generation, we need to move beyond hoping and start acting.
In the build-up to World Earth Day, the British High Commission this morning held a tree-planting initiative at Suva Muslim College to motivate young minds to take ownership of the environment.
The Education Ministry has not been spared from the impact of climate change, which has increasingly become a norm every year. The ministry strongly supports efforts in the fight against climate change involving young people.
Youth represents over 60% of Fiji's total population and play a huge role in climate change action and advocacy. What better place to start than in schools?
The British High Commission plans to engage more young Fijians to raise awareness on climate change and a build-up to COP26. Jose Yananunga, FBC News.
Colgate-Palmolive says the company considers itself lucky they've retained all their staff despite the pandemic. General Manager Hiten Lal says demand for beauty products in Fiji has not been affected, hence their operation continuing as normal. The personal hygiene and healthcare company employs close to 50 Fijians. Lal says they've had some sustainable years of operation in the country.
haven't had to let go of any staff or anything. We haven't reduced any hours. There has been no pay cuts at Colgate at all. So we've still sustained it. Obviously, as it is, the whole economy is down. So there are obviously impacts that come about in every industry and every business. But we have been very lucky to be able to sustain all that within our company.
Passion overcomes all odds, and this rings true for Fiji's first marine biologist, Dr. Sangita Mangubai. The love for the environment kept her pushing forward in a male-dominated field, and despite numerous hurdles, Dr. Mangubai never gave up. Jeshulal with tonight's success story.
The journey has not been smooth sailing, but the various challenges helped Dr. Mangubai become a successful marine biologist.
Yeah, so there wasn't as many the variety of courses available, and because at the time I had Australian citizen by then, so I decided to do it in Australia.
Dr. Mangubai says she finished her studies overseas, which was another challenge.
So I actually moved to Africa and I did all my research out there. But it was, again, very, very challenging, and in some of these places they're very male-dominated and where they don't expect women to be in that field.
The 47-year-old says the passion to protect the environment ignited at a young age when she accompanied her aunts on fishing trips. She adds her dream came true when she was offered a holiday job.
I dropped by one of the very few NGOs that were around, the Worldwide Fund for Nature, and I turned up on their doorstep, and very young and naive, and I asked them, what do I need to do to work for an international NGO like yourself? And the director at the time said, well, actually I have a job right now for you. And so on holiday I got offered this position and I ended up moving back to Fiji.
The marine biologist is urging youth to take a lead role in protecting the environment.
So to the youth, I really think this is a time that the youth need to speak up. I think, we really are a planet in the midst of a crisis, not just in the midst of a pandemic, but we're also in the midst of a climate change crisis.
Dr. Mangubai also has a message for the women.
I think that's really important, finding someone who inspires you. I also think you have to not let the stereotypes about marine biologists stop you, or if someone says, oh, you're too small, or you're not a strong swimmer, don't let that stop you.
As a top marine ecologist for 18 years, Dr. Mangubai says the contribution of women to the society is immeasurable and is urging them to grab every opportunity that comes for a successful career path. Jeshulal, FBC News.
Ahead in sports, Tailevu to learn from loss. And Cricket Fiji selects national squad. This and more coming up.
Bola, ang gono ilutoka lutalita ka ng Bola FM bulletin number 2 NSR.
Bola FM number 2 NSR.
Rising star Panapasa Gerugeru was influential for Nadranga, scoring 2 tries in the last 2 minutes to take down defending Skipper Cup champions Suva 25-17 at the ANZ Stadium. The Stallions proved why they're the most feared provincial team in Fiji. Venina Rakautonga reports.
The capital side took an early 3-0 lead with a converted penalty by Enele Malele.
Low. And he strikes it well. Nadranga setting it up and then out it goes.
This was short-lived as the Stallions powered through with 2 consecutive tries from Kelev Mendi Navudu and Penny Kendralevu.
Oh, Nadranga play on. So Nadranga go on and the offload works for Nadranga. Here's Doka Mbusa. Gets it away as Nedley Grant takes it up. Nadranga fire up onto Kendralevu. Kendralevu will score the try.
Nadranga enjoyed a 12-3 lead before Mesake Tuinamena was yellow-carded for dangerous play. This gave Suva an opportunity as Savanada Oluimbao spotted a gap in the Stallion's defense line to dive over for a try. Nadranga manager Semi Vambinalotu says the players were given stern reminders at the changing room.
We have to maintain our discipline, maintain our game structure.
Little show of the ball. Oh, he's managed to break the tackle. Geru goes through. Geru.
This looked like the win for Suva until Geru's double magic. Suva manager Nemani Tuifangalele says the loss is a learning curve for them.
Oh, it's still in the park. They're playing soccer with it. Panapas and Geru. Oh!
It's an unfortunate situation for real, but yes, we learn a lot of things from this game.
Nadranga will face Namosi next weekend while Suva takes on Rewa. Venina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
The Tailevu provincial team is not taking the 13-19 narrow loss against Namosi lightly as they move to round 2 of the Skipper Cup competition. It was a physical encounter at Nakelo District grounds in Tailevu. Venina Rakautonga has the details.
Not a good start for the hosts, but head coach Seremaya Mbai says there is still time for improvement.
It's going to be tough. Success is not coming in overtime, but work in progress, work in process. We just have to keep our heads high, take the positives, and working on those walk-ons on coming next week.
Mbai says despite the loss, he is proud of composure and discipline maintained throughout the game.
Credit to my boys. They played their heart out. We'll take the positive and looking forward for next weekend.
Young player Paula Nayavakolo is happy with the experience.
It was not an easy game, seeing that Namosi was a tough side, but we showed teamwork, and that is what we will take on moving forward.
Tailevu will be expecting a tough clash when they take on Northland in the second round of the Skipper Provincial Cup next week. Venina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
Queensland Reds rallied from 12-0 down to beat the Brumbies 24-22 and secured hosting rights to the Super Rugby AU final. The Reds' 7th straight win this season and 10th consecutive at Suncorp Stadium came after a frantic 5 minutes of defence after they edged ahead for the first time in the 77th minute. Fiji Mpati's Tui Kamikamiva assisted with a 4th try for Storm to help them secure a 52-18 win against the Canterbury Bulldogs in round 5 of the National Rugby League. In other NRL matches last night, Titans thrashed Knights 42-16 and Roosters defeated Sharks 26-18. The Rewa football side outclassed to Nadranga 3-0 today during the Digicel Premier League match. 2 goals from Anish Kem sealed the victory for the Delta Tigers at Churchill Park. Felipe Nakaso has more.
It was an impressive performance by the Delta Tigers, who dominated majority of the game to get the 3 points.
The first up, but the boys performed well, and when they perform well, the results come, and that is why we win today.
The side led 1-0 at the break and piled on 2 more goals in the second half. Despite the win, they will be working on a number of areas they'll need to improve on.
There's a lot of areas that we need to work on, especially on our attacks. If you see, if we did finish all our chances, we would have been winning by a good goal margin. But that's the area of concern. It is the finishing and some more niggling injuries that we'll want to look at.
For Nadranga, the side that meets the Rewa was the better team on the day.
And we lost to a better team. Can't do much about it, but just have to go back and prepare in the coaching session.
Rewa will now play Mbai in the next DPL match. Felipe Nakaso, FBC Sports.
Cricket Fiji is on its quest to field a strong national team for the East Asia Pacific qualifiers in Japan in August. The association held a 2-team cricket trial which helped them pick 30 best cricketers to be part of the extended squad. Senior selector Meli Saumbulinayao says they've managed to rake in fresh talent in past competitions. Saumbulinayao says those selected must remain fit to become a great bowler and batsman. He says Papua New Guinea is the best team in the Pacific and there is no excuse for Fiji to reach that spot.
We actually want to bring Fiji back to the level that we were in the past. If we can go further than that, better it will be for Fiji.
The Suva volleyball competition season is slowly coming to an end, but more teams are continuing to show interest. The association is now advising the teams to wait for the new season. President Kimweli Naingama says this is a positive sign for the association as they may have to make some changes.
Having our fingers crossed, there may be a change in venue since the 3 courts here at the multipurpose we observed that it's not adequate enough to accommodate the 44 teams so far. So there may be a change in venue, but it totally depends on the funds available with the association.
A weak trough of low pressure remains slow moving to the west of Fiji. A moist northeasterly wind flow prevails over the country. In the west, the conditions were mostly cloudy and humid. From Pacific Harbour to Suva, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a shower in spots. And in the north, mostly cloudy with scattered showers in the areas. At sea, moderate northeasterly winds becoming east to southeasterlies from tomorrow, moderate seas. The next high or low tide is at 39 minutes past midnight, with high tide at 6:51 a.m. tomorrow. Sunrise is at 6:15. Tomorrow's weather, partly cloudy conditions with showers and isolated thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon or evening. The outlook for Tuesday, fine apart from possible afternoon or evening showers elsewhere. Recapping our main stories, government sees decline in poverty, SDLP members to voice their concerns, and total makeover for Nukumbolu Primary School. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station, Gold FM. To our poll question this week, we're asking, should COVID-19 vaccination be made compulsory? Visit our FBC website to answer. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our Facebook and Twitter accounts. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, stay safe and Wadamanda.
Hi, I'm Ini from Raki Raki. I love Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.